All right, mic check, mic check. Morning Masters Podcast, the host main, of course. I got a special guest, of course, with me. I call him Mr. Wayman. I'm not sure what he wants to be called on this podcast, but I'm gonna call him Mr. Wayman today. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How about y'all?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Now just for people that's watching now, I know you. You know what I'm saying? We have something in common. We make money together somewhere, and I've known you for a while now. And where we at and how we communicate and interact. You got a lot of good stories. You was in the army. A lot of just stories of life. You know what I'm saying? You full of wisdom. Full of experiences, which kind of resonates with the wisdom and stuff like that. So a lot of topics we have is always interesting. And I remember one time telling you, like, well, I do a podcast, da da da. About last year, probably. I remember saying, I want to do this. I want to do this. I missed it last Veterans Day. I missed it. And I'm glad I missed it because I think I've got better over the year as well. And I wanted to have my situation set up a certain way. I would have loved to have just audio. But I think the video was always, like, something good to cherish, you know what I'm saying? Especially for the person that's talking. So, I guess let's start off with just about you, where you from, born and raised, where you raised at, and stuff like that.
Okay, well, I was born here in Augusta, Georgia, and I was born in the year 1957. So
Okay.
I'm a baby boomer. Baby boomer. So along with that, hopefully comes with wisdom and knowledge. I was born and raised again, like I said, in Augusta, Georgia. And I did all types of jobs. I worked as a roofer. I worked as a printer. I worked as a retire trader, retail sales manager. You name it, and I've done it.
Yeah, because you told me, you said you managed a grocery store.
Right.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. I was like, wow, what? And honestly, working with, I'm going to say we work together, right? But working with you is like, you don't necessarily need management. You know how to come in and actually just do stuff. And I don't know if that's the military background or just the background in working in general. I never could tell, really.
Okay. Well, I think it's a little of both. And I'll expound a little more about the military type of training that kind of enables a young person who hopefully grows into an older person like myself to work by themselves, to be a self-starter, know how to get things done. In the military, that is their forte of getting things done. So I guess when I was a retail sales manager, I was a manager of a store. And I was at a very young age when I did that. So it was a great opportunity for me, and I had a great opportunity to meet a lot of interesting people also. And I think I've already mentioned this to you before. I mentioned that I met Prince.
I heard. I know you didn't mention me. I heard this story.
Okay. It was in
But
1970.
the Prince.
Right,
the
Prince.
Butt cheeks out Prince.
The artist without no name, the one who just recently passed, I think in 2018, I believe. Is he either 18 or 17? But it's recent. But Prince. And he was I guess you could call him a nobody at that time.
And where was this at?
This was in the Regency Mall right here in Augusta, Georgia. Our record store was based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Okay, that is Prince's hometown, Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I was at the counter one day, and I saw this guy coming across the walkway, and he came into the store. I didn't think anything of it, just another person coming in. Very polite, but I remember him very well. He had this long hair. He had this semi-grown mustache. Very polite, but he was real short. I remember that because I'm not tall myself. I was taller than he was. So he introduced himself. He said, my name is Rogers Nelson. I remember that. And he gave me his business card. And I was busy at the time. I'm a store manager, so I didn't have time to really take that much time with him. And he gave me a demo album. He said, would you mind playing this album in your store? I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I'd love for you to promote my album. Well, me being busy, I see people like coming into the store all the time. So I said, well, yeah, just lay it on the counter. Yeah, I'll get to it when I get to it. Never got to it, right? He shook my hand and walked out the store. Okay. About 2 years later, I'm still in retail sales management, and the record people are calling me saying, hey, have you heard this great album, this great artist? His name is Prince. I said, no, I haven't heard of it. They played it. And I got one of the albums. They sent a bunch of albums to the store. Okay?
Right.
And I looked at the back of the album. I said, where have I seen this guy? I have seen this guy before. It's that guy that came in about 2 years ago.
You were too busy for.
I was too busy for it. And now he's getting ready to hit the big time. He's getting ready to hit his stride. right? So I had an opportunity. I could have said, well, hey, I had an opportunity to launch Prince right here in Augusta, Georgia, and I missed that opportunity.
Well, some way, somehow, he got around to Augusta, Georgia. Some way,
He did. And like I said before, he was a very polite young man. He was exactly the opposite of what his stage persona was. The exact opposite. And if he'd come in and say, "Hey, can I have a job?" and I say, "Yeah, hey, just fill out the application. I like your demeanor."
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. Did you keep the business card at all? Or not?
I didn't. I threw it away. And I never played this album.
Oh man.
I never played this album. Isn't that something?
That's crazy.
Wow.
So, but when did, just real quick, when did you realize that was Prince? Like, how long did it take you to realize, like, this is who I made?
It took about 5 minutes. After I looked at the back of the album, his hit album, I looked at the back of it because he had cut his hair. He was wearing different type of clothing. But I remember his face. And I said, where have I seen this? Wait a minute. It's that guy that came into the store. That's him.
Did he float? I heard he don't walk on air on the floor. I heard he floats.
Well, he was walking that
day.
He was walking. He was walking. Okay. No.
Before he started floating.
I know, right?
No following, no cameras, no press. He was just a regular Joe in the mall.
And nobody enough to stop Wayman's time at the moment.
Nobody.
I'll get to it when I get to it. That's amazing. That's dope though. So I'm glad you told that first because I didn't know where to put that story in this, but I knew people kept telling me ask him. I said I'm gonna get her out of him.
Absolutely.
But so let's take us back a little bit. Now you said you was born and raised in Augusta. So like, what schools you went to down here? Like,
I went to Immaculate Conception.
Never heard of it.
It's a Catholic elementary school.
It's still around?
No, actually, yes, it is. It has moved. It used to be on the corner of 11th Street, and it used to be called Gwinnett Street, but now it's called Laney Walker Boulevard. It's a vacant lot there now, but it used to be a school there, and it's taught by Franciscan nuns and priests. Okay, and I also attended Sacred Heart Elementary School, the great big church downtown, Sacred Heart Cultural Center.
Yeah,
that was a church and a school at one time. I attended there. Okay, and from there I went on to St. Thomas Aquinas High School.
St. Thomas.
St. Thomas.
That's the first name.
That's the full name
never
of
knew
Aquinas
that
High School.
I learned that today.
Right, St. Thomas Aquinas.
Wow. What was Augusta like? Your upbringing before I get into Aquinas. What was your upbringing like in Augusta? Like,
Right.
Live with your mom, your dad?
Right, my mom and dad were there. We were the typical family: mom, dad, brother, 2 brothers, a dog, and a cat. We grew up downtown. I remember when part of what they call 9th Street, which I think is called James Brown Boulevard now. I remember their stores were down there. They were all black-owned businesses down there, right? All black-owned business. They even had a theater they called a Lenox Theater. It was a black-owned theater. Because at that time, unfortunately, when you went to theaters like the Miller or the Imperial, you were not allowed in there because integration or segregation was still in play. So, what is it? I think they say the motherhood of necessity. Black people started their own theater. They started their own businesses in that street, in that area, and it was called the Golden Blocks. I caught the very end of that, but I remember going to the Lenox Theater seeing movies, me and my older brother. Okay? Wow. So downtown in that area was great. I mean, all black-owned businesses. Everyone was thriving because you were not allowed in certain areas, unfortunately, at that time in Augusta. So I grew up in that time area. But I remember when segregation was going on in downtown Augusta.
So downtown was not fair game then, but it's just certain blocks downtown you can walk through.
Right.
So how would you get to a certain block? Like, was it just were they consecutive? Like, let's say you couldn't be on 10th, but you could be on 11th. Like, how do you do that?
Let's just say if you walked in certain areas, you were hassled. Okay, you were hassled by the police. You were hassled by the store owners. Let's say you want to stop to even get a drink of water. Now, I remember this as a personal thing that happened to me. I was a kid, and we had visited downtown on a school trip, and we had a Franciscan nun that was escorting us there. And she was from Dublin, Ireland. She had no clue of what was going on in the Deep South. Okay, so we were walking from the museum going back to the school, and I'm a kid. I saw a water fountain, so I ran to get some water. I ran to get the water, and the store owner came out, and he was going to jump on me and chew me out for drinking out of the water fountain I wasn't supposed to drink out of. Just then, the Franciscan nun walks up right behind me, and I could see his eyes divert from me to her. And that's the only thing that stopped him from jumping on me with a verbal chewing for drinking out of the fountain I was not supposed to drink out of.
So at what age, like, did you learn that you weren't supposed to drink out of certain fountains? Like, how would you know at that age?
I think I did not know then. I think I may be around 7 or 8 years old. I think I may be in the first, second grade. But as time progressed, you found out that you were not allowed to do certain things. You were not allowed to go certain places. I'm even up Washington Road, where a lot of neighborhoods and businesses are thriving now. I remember those were woods. Okay, you were not allowed to go up in those certain areas because the police would stop you and ask, well, why are you here? Why are you up here? What is your business? State your business. So to avoid the hassle, you didn't go that way. You didn't go that way. Yeah.
What was the Masters still around there at that time?
The Masters tournament was still going on.
Because
Yes.
you said Washington Road was like an area you couldn't go. So
further up Washington Road, past National Hills, or past what is the Bobby Jones Expressway now?
Right.
You would not venture up that way unless you had official business, like you were going to do domestic work or cut grass. You would not just drive up that way just leisurely. And if you did, you stood a chance of being hassled by the police.
Wow. So racism was like really, really heavy out here at that time.
Yes.
You mentioned like downtown going to the theater, right? Mm-hmm. What was the experience like going to those black theaters? Because we don't get to experience that stuff now. It's different now, obviously.
Right.
What was the experience like doing that downtown?
Okay. Now, the Lenox Theater was on 9th Street.
Which is like James Brown.
Right, James Brown Boulevard at the present time. It was fun going there. They had live shows there. They had a stage there where actually people could get up there and sing and dance.
Did you ever sing and dance up there?
I never did. I think, no, I never had that experience of doing that. But we used to go there and see movies, Saturday morning movies. My older brother and I, we used to love the cowboy movies. They used to always play those there. And, yeah, that's what we did. We spent time at the movies. Yeah.
So, I know you got an older brother.
Right.
What was the household consisted of? So your mom, your dad.
Right. My mom, my dad, my older brother, who's 5 years older than me, my younger brother, who was 5 years younger than me, and of course, I was like Jan on the Brady Bunch. I was the middle child.
So, what was that like being in the middle?
Well, you got the good and the best. Being the oldest, he basically bore the brunt of everything. And by the time it got to me, it had been watered down. So if we got punishments, he was punished first. And by the time it got to me, it mellowed out. And by the time it got to my younger brother, it was like, hey,
whatever.
Right.
We got two of them, so we good.
That's right. Absolutely.
Okay. And did you like play any sports? Like what did you do like as far as like activity wise being young?
I did. We all played sports. My older brother, my younger brother, and myself, we all played sports in high school, in elementary school. We always played outside, too. And that's one thing that I like doing right now, even as an older person. I love working outside. I don't like working inside. We always were raised as kids outside. Matter of fact, we had a water spigot on the side of the house. So after you finished playing and running and ripping, you went to that water spigot, and we didn't have cups. You cut that water spigot on, you put your mouth up under it and drink that water from there.
Now, I'm going to tell you right now, we
familiar.
We still do that.
Okay.
We definitely familiar.
We still do that to this day, all right?
That's it.
But thank y'all for starting that trend.
Absolutely.
But I would assume you put the spigot inside the house, and now you're not running to businesses you're not supposed to go to drink some of their water, right?
Right.
I guess I'm curious. I never asked you this before because I never got that detailed response from you with this. But like, what made y'all live downtown as opposed to living anywhere else? My grandma's from here originally, and she lived downtown as well, kind of in that same area, in Grand Avenue over there, over that area, right? Mm-hmm. Why everybody lived there? It seemed like in those days. And
well, I think that was like a mecca area for African Americans at that time. They all flocked to that one area. Like I said before, on 9th Street, which is James Brown Boulevard now, they had businesses there. So a lot of people didn't have cars. At one time, we didn't have a car. So you walked it where you went. So if you wanted to get a hamburger or you wanted to go to the movies, you walked there. So if you lived in that area, it was easier to walk in those certain areas.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I am curious though, with you living downtown, why you went to Aquinas? Like, what made you go to that school? And then, cause I'm thinking about my recollection of Augusta and history. Why? And everybody's watching gonna ask this probably question. Why didn't you go to Laney?
Well, I'll tell you. My older brother went to a public elementary school, his first and second year in those schools. And my mother was talking to him one day and asked him to recite his ABCs. He's in the second grade and he didn't know his ABCs. So she went to the school and found out, said, why is my child not being taught? Okay. And I guess that started then. The teachers, I guess that particular teacher either didn't care or didn't want to know. She just didn't care about teaching him. So from that point on, she took him out of that public school and put him to the private school, which was Immaculate Conception. Immaculate Conception was the African American Catholic elementary school. St. Mary's on the Hill, which is on Monsanto Avenue. Our Lady of Peace, which is over in North Augusta. Those were the Caucasian elementary schools. Sacred Heart was a Caucasian elementary school.
And you couldn't even go to those schools anyway.
Well, actually, I did go 1 year. I went 1 year to Sacred Heart, okay? And I can recall when it was me, a female, and my younger brother. We were the only 3 African Americans in that school. Okay, from 1 to 8th grade. Okay, so it was a good thing and a bad thing. A good thing is that we got exposed to a lot more education-wise.
Right.
Where Immaculate Conception, the same type of school, they were behind.
Gotcha.
For whatever reason, they were behind. So when I went back from Sacred Heart to Immaculate Conception to finish up my 7th and 8th grade year, they were teaching stuff that I already knew. From 6th grade to Sacred Heart.
That's how it was when I came down here. Like when I moved down here in 10th grade, it was stuff I was doing in 7th grade that we were doing in 12th.
Right.
So I always use my old notes. But it's the same thing. The school's just being behind. For whatever reason. I don't know. You never know why. They're behind.
Right.
So what would you, and you said I played sports, right? I'm assuming you played sports for Aquinas, right?
I did.
What was the decision to go to Aquinas for one, and then secondly, how were you in sports? What sports you played at that school?
Well, the reason we went to Aquinas is because once you finish your Immaculate Conception, it was a Catholic elementary school. St. Thomas Aquinas was a Catholic high school. So you could continue your education from Immaculate Conception or St. Mary's or Sacred Heart.
Is that still the case with Aquinas? Are they still
right?
a Catholic?
It is a Christian Catholic-based school now.
Okay.
They don't have that many Franciscan nuns or priests teaching now.
What is that? I'm sorry. What is a Franciscan nun?
It's an order. It's a Catholic order.
Okay.
And matter of fact, they wore the full habits at that time.
Like Sister Act, the
right,
thing?
Exactly. They wore the entire habit. They wore the long dresses. At one time, I didn't think they had legs because I never saw their legs. I only saw their black shoes. I said, they got to have some legs under there somewhere. But
so you think
I
about the
never
wrong
saw
thing.
them.
Think about the wrong thing. You got to keep your head in the books. Keep your head in the books, man.
Absolutely.
That's why I love public school, though. I told a story the other day. The teacher that was in 5th grade, and she was kind of voluptuous, But when she ran the chalkboard, I feel old now saying chalkboard, but the chalkboard, it would all jiggle. We loved it. Like,
okay.
Can you write on the board for us, please? And she'd just go write it real quick and just see a bunch of jiggle. It's just like nice little mystical video.
Okay. Well, the nuns didn't jiggle. They didn't jiggle. As a matter of fact, they believed in corporal punishment, too. The nuns, if you did something wrong, they had a ruler. They had one of these 12-inch rulers, and they make you hold out your hand. They spank your hand. Yeah. So they believed in that. So they didn't jiggle. They spanked.
Oh no, I'm straight.
They spanked.
I'm gonna keep my jiggle. I think I'm gonna be behind. I'm gonna be behind about 4 or 5 years. Keep my jiggle. But yeah, tell me a little bit about Aquinas and how it was in that time.
Right.
Because that's what the 60s.
Well, actually, it was the early 70s.
Okay.
The early 70s. Aquinas used to be and the way the school is now, they redesigned the school, but the old way the school was built, it was only opened in 1957. So it's not a very old school.
The year was born.
Yeah, The
Oh,
year I was
wow, okay.
born. So they used to have a south wing, or a boys wing, and a girls wing. And the administrative area was in the middle of the school. It separated the two wings. Okay. So when you attended Aquinas, we were required to wear a shirt with a collar, a tie, and slacks.
Okay.
There were no jeans allowed. There were no tank tops allowed. They had a very strict dress code at that time. Okay, the girls were the same way. They had to wear skirts. They had to wear the button-down shirts. A very strict dress code.
No tights.
No tights. Mm-hmm. None of that. If you well, your parents wouldn't even send you to school like that. Okay, they wouldn't even send you to school that
Times
way.
have changed.
Times have changed, and pretty much, it's kind of like that now. I think they've eased up on the dress code a lot now.
A lot, yeah.
They've eased up a lot now. Mm-hmm. They have more what they call lay civilian teachers there now. They don't have a lot of the nuns and priests there now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing when I came to school down here, cause I was living in New York, wasn't no dress code. Do what you want to do.
Right.
But I came down here, you got to tuck your shirt in, which I thought was the weirdest thing because at that time we all wearing 3X t-shirts for whatever reason. We wanted to wear 3X t-shirts.
Right.
You tuck it in, just come to your knees. That's it.
That's it.
So I understand it, but yeah. That's all we had to do was tuck our shirts in.
Absolutely.
And we couldn't even do that.
So. Absolutely. But sports-wise, I played football. My older brother played football. My younger brother played football. And I might add, my younger brother was a very good athlete. I wasn't a very good, but I was determined.
You was better than your older brother?
He was actually, no.
You was the
no.
worst.
I think I was like the
out of
middle
all three
child
brothers,
again.
you
I
were
think
the
I was the worst again in the middle. I think I was the worst.
It's all good.
Yeah. But I think that kind of paved the way for me to do what I did in the military. What's the old saying? You a little piece of leather well put together. Okay? So you could knock me down, I got right back up. And that kind of served me also in the military and in life also. When people knock you down for whatever reason, you still get back up. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm grateful for that.
And Aquinas, like, what was the? And I guess I didn't ask this, but I know people gonna ask or wondering. You said it was 3 of y'all at that school, right? So I know that the learning was good.
Right.
But what was the interaction of the students like? Like every day going to school, being 1/3 of the black population.
Right.
Just your body being 1/3 of it.
Right.
What was that like?
Okay. Well, at Aquinas, what it was is a conglomeration of all 3 or 4 of the Catholic elementary schools. They all sent their kids to Aquinas. Mm-hmm. So you met kids that went to St. Mary's. You met kids that went to Our Lady of Peace over in North Augusta. Of course, you were in Immaculate Conception. So when you went there, it was amazement because you never went to school with Caucasian kids. Very few went to Immaculate Conception. There were a few, but there were very few that went to Immaculate Conception. They usually went to St. Mary's or Our Lady of Peace. Mm-hmm. So when you throw them all together, it's amazement because you see these kids and you play sports against them. Now you're playing on the same team with them. Okay? So it was a good thing and a bad thing because a lot of times they will say, wow, that guy at Immaculate Conception, he was an exceptional athlete. We could never outrun him. We could never outpass him. And now he's got a chance to play on the same team with us at Aquinas.
Right.
So I guess the big thing back then was the afros. You know, we had these big.
You had an afro?
Yeah, I had a great big
afro.
I tell you, I had an afro with the pick, with the fist on it and everything. And I mean, that was the change of the times then. Undercover brother. Yes, sir.
Found out.
Yes, sir. And the thing was, you always get. When you go before you go into the school, you get in front of the door, get reflection, and get that pick and pick that hair out again, and you walk in like you were John Shaft.
Oh man,
that's what I was gonna say next.
I tell you, shut your mouth.
I gotta play that clip now. I gotta put that clip in here. So, what were you like in school? Like you being so you had an afro.
Yeah.
You had muscles.
Yeah, I did. Like I said, I played sports.
Oh, you was a model.
I played sports. I lifted a lot of weights and everything too because it seemed like the girls loved the muscles at that time. And so the more muscles you had, the more loving you got, and the more attention you got from the girls. So it was like one summer I was in like 9th grade, and I said that's next summer. I said, you know what? I'm gonna start lifting weights. So I had some cinder blocks, and I put a stick between them. And I started lifting those cinder blocks until I started working and started saving my money. And then I bought me a set of weights.
Okay.
You couldn't tell me nothing then. So I started lifting weights and bought me a bench and everything. And I actually built myself up looking pretty doggone good. And when I came back like my junior year in high school, and I had that fro sticking out,
It was a
and
wrap.
I had those muscles rippling, it was like Katie barred the door.
Hey, let me ask you this: what you use the afro? What you use? What you sprayed in there?
What I think it was called Afro Sheen.
Afro sheen.
Afro Sheen. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You use like a can, a whole can to spray your
Oh,
whole
boy.
head, right?
I can see you walking around with your shirt over, just a chain on, just picking an afro. You know what I'm saying?
Oh wow.
And he had the bell bottoms.
I
on.
know.
And the bell bar and the stack heels.
We got
You
Lane
had
tonight.
to have the
We got Lane
heels.
tonight.
You had to wear that. And the thing was, it was almost like a how can you say, an awakening.
Right.
At one time, all the African American men wore their hair close and everything, but now you're allowed to wear an afro. And a lot of people saw that, and especially a lot of Caucasian girls, they saw you wearing an afro, and they said, "Oh man, can I touch it? Can I touch
Oh,
it?"
you getting smooth now. You see how smooth his voice getting? This is a funny guy.
Yeah. And you tell them, and after they touch it, you take your pick out the area where you think they touched it. Den. Oh,
So
wow.
I guess I have to ask this question with that. How did the white guys feel? Because they couldn't get afros.
I mean, some did.
Some of them did?
Some had their hair where they would wet their hair and kind of get their hair curled up to where it looked like an afro.
Like the Brady Bunch?
Yeah. Like the guy on the Brady Bunch.
Gotcha,
What was that?
gotcha.
Greg.
I never
He
watched
had
it.
his hair, it was in curls, but it looked like an afro at one time. So a lot of guys were doing that, okay? Because they saw the attention a lot of the African American guys were getting. Because a lot of the white girls that grew up in St. Mary's and Sacred Heart and Our Lady of Peace, they had never interacted with African American kids, especially men. So when they saw that big afro, the bigger the better. And when they saw that, they said, "Wow, can I touch that? Can I touch it?"
So,
Wow.
but with never like no jealousy or did you have any problems? Like
You did always have a small, and not much. I didn't really experience that much, but
'Cause you had
always
muscles?
Well, not just muscles, but I guess they were either afraid to say certain things. But I
you
did
were
experience-
outnumbered though. You would
We
have been
were
outnumbered.
outnumbered. Yes.
Like you ever get like called like the N word or anything like that? Like
I did at one time, and I was at Sacred Heart when that happened. I was in the 6th grade, and I was a small kid then. But that did happen, and it broke my heart. Matter of fact, this guy that said it, he was one of my idols. He was 2 years older than me, and he was one of my idols. I don't know if you remember Johnny Unitas that played for the Baltimore Colts years ago.
didn't we see him at the store or something like that?
No, this guy
Okay.
here is, I don't know
I
where
thought
he
you,
is
I thought
now,
you
but-
told me about the story. Okay, nah.
But this guy looked the spitting image of Johnny Unitas. He had that straight haircut. It was chopped off at the top. If you ever see a picture of Johnny Unitas, you saw him. He looked just like it. And he said a very derogatory name, and he didn't think I heard it. And all the people around him heard it, and they were embarrassed for me, and I heard it. Okay, but that was the only time I really had that type of negative experience in school like that. That was the only time.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Then. That's good.
Yeah.
I was just worried about that. Just wanted to know if you had experienced that. But it seemed like your experiences weren't very very bad. It actually helped you and molded you to kind of
They did.
look at the world a different way
They did.
than maybe most people looking at that world.
They did. And the thing was, interacting with other races at Aquinas also conditioned me to function in the military, on the job force. Okay, I wasn't segregated with just one race of people. I got a chance to work with everybody. And it also played when I went into the military. I got a chance to work with everybody from different races, different religions, different backgrounds. I got a chance to work with all those. Thankfully, it started at Aquinas High School.
Did you go to college or anything? Like, what was life after Aquinas like for you in Augusta or wherever you was at?
Well, I tell you, I had a younger brother, and my younger brother was very gifted in sports. And unfortunately, I lost my parents early. I lost my parents when I was a teenager. So actually, I was made a legal guardian of my younger brother, who was only 5 years younger than me. So I did not have a chance to go to college. I was working. I was running a household. So the opportunity to go to college and join fraternities, all type of stuff, I didn't have a chance to do that. I had to raise him, and my younger brother was like almost 6 feet tall,
So
about
taller than you.
220 pounds. He was a big guy.
That was little big brother.
Little big brother. So how did it look for me telling him, hey, you better be home by 10 o'clock?
You hope you're home at 10 o'clock.
Please be home by 10 o'clock.
But what about your older brother? Like
My older brother already gone off into the Marine Corps.
Oh, okay,
He
okay,
retired
okay.
from the Marine Corps also. So he joined the Marine Corps early. He was always focused. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. He joined the Marine Corps at 17 years old. Okay.
At what age did you lose your parents though?
I lost my parents. I lost my mother when I was 17 and my father at 19.
Oh man, I'm sorry. To
So
hear that.
I lost them at an early age. So it made me grow up fast.
Did they see you graduate high school?
My father did. My mother was actually sick. She couldn't come to the graduation.
But she
But
knew
my-
you graduated.
Yeah, she did know
Okay.
I graduated. But my father actually came to the graduation. So yes,
Okay.
he did see me do that. Yes.
Okay. What was he like? I never really talked about
My
him.
father was very strict. He was very strict. He believed in whippings first and then asking why you did it.
Later, gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So that was his
Kind of
demeanor.
old school.
Kind of old school.
And
Yes.
what about your mom?
My mom, she was kind of like that too. She was a little more
Said she
lenient.
was kind of like that.
Yeah, I guess they were made for each other. I guess. But
That's just how it was in that time.
Yeah,
though.
like yeah, I'm
Yeah.
following your lead. Let's go.
matter of fact, there was a lady that lived next door to us, and I was a kid. I may have been 7, 8 years old, and I had a bicycle, and the street was dirt, and we had a dirt sidewalk. So I remember it was either Saturday morning or something. I know it was out of school, but I was riding my bicycle up and down the street, and I was making a noise like a siren. Yeah.
That's a
And
horrible siren. Man. Keep
It
going.
was. But
That
this
is a horror.
this old lady was sitting on the porch, and she said, "Stop making all that noise." Okay? And she must have been about 90 years old back then. Okay? So I ignored her. I kept making that noise, riding up and down. You know what? I don't know how that old lady got off the porch. I came back down the street on the sidewalk. She grabbed me off my bicycle and swooped me right there in her yard.
Oh wow.
Whooped me right there. And you know what? I never told my parents. I took my whipping and went home because I knew if I'd gone home and told my parents, this Miss Minnie whipped me. And the first thing they said, well, why? Because I was making noise and she told me not to.
Now ignore
Well, you might as well keep them down because you got number 2 and number 3 coming for disobeying a grown-up,
I got
disobeying
you.
your elders. So I always say I'm going to take that secret to the grave with me, unless you publish this on YouTube.
What's going on YouTube now? Oh, so what was that like? Like, I guess, like I said, after college and now you becoming a legal guardian. How did that come about? Like, what decision was made for say, okay, well, you're gonna have to do it? Like, did you make that on your own? They
No,
pushed you to do that?
actually, the courts did it with insurance money, everything that he had coming to him. He was too young to actually receive that money.
Gotcha.
So they had to appoint a legal guardian to be his caretaker, take care of all of his finances. So my older sister was in New York. My older brother was in the Marine Corps, and I was the only one left.
All right, hold on. We got to backtrack. You didn't tell me you had a sister.
Right. Well, actually, my older sister
She didn't live
passed
with
away
y'all?
in 2019. Okay.
I remember that. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
She passed away in 2019, and she's 22 years older than me.
Oh wow.
Okay. So she was old. She actually has a son my age.
Gotcha.
Okay. So actually, she was grown and gone by the time I was coming along. She used to come home and visit from New York, but she was actually like a second mother to us.
Got you.
Right.
Okay.
So I really didn't get a chance to grow up with her. Like I said, she was grown and gone by the time I actually got up.
Okay, gotcha. She's 22 years older than you.
Right.
That's okay. So how what was that like? Like what was that like? Having to be a guardian to your little brother that's bigger than you.
A lot of stress. You know, you're trying to tell a 15, 14, 16-year-old, you know, after the football game, you need to be home by this time. And they look at you and say, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
That's something my brother used to do me.
Yeah, and you couldn't physically handle them and say, you better not let me catch you coming in late.
I thought you had to throw in the muscles. Like, what happened?
Well, he had much more. He had much more than me. Right? So, but it was a lot of, and he wasn't a bad kid. He actually, if you had him want to come home at 11 o'clock or something, he was actually home. And that came from a lot of upbringing from my parents. Like I said, my father didn't play. My mother was right behind him. They didn't play. So actually, he was a good kid. And he actually did what he was supposed to do.
Gotcha. So I guess to get into that portion of it, like, when were you able to decide, you know what, I got to go into the military? And what you were Army, right?
Right.
So when did that decision come about, or when did you start thinking about it to actually make this move to actually join?
I actually thought about it. I thought about it years earlier because my older brother went in years earlier as a Marine. And I worked out here at jobs, like I said, a retail store manager, a printer, a roofer. I worked all types of jobs. And I said, this does not get me anywhere where I want to be. What's the options? And I saw my older brother, and every time he'd come on, he have a new car. I said, what? What? How can I get that? How can I do that? So I decided to join the military. And I didn't plan on staying all those years. I wanted to go ahead and get me a new Mustang. I wanted to come home and do what I wanted to do then.
You grew up in the wrong era.
I did. I sure did, too. But you know what?
Now they get challenges, Camaros.
Tell him, Slim.
But things started looking up for me. Things started to change. I went in older than most people go in. So it wasn't a decision I had to make like a lot of young people. Well, it's either go to college or go into the military. I was well past the age of college then. So I said, look, I want to go ahead and make a future for myself. I want to go ahead and do something with myself. Go into the military. And that's exactly what I did. Yeah.
So why not the Marines? Your brother the Marines.
My older brother actually told me, he said, well, I'll tell you what, don't go into the Marine Corps. If he had to do it all over again, he said, I would never have gone to the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps, in my opinion, is one of the toughest branches. It's the smallest branch, but it's the toughest branch. And he told me not to go into the Marine Corps. So I decided to go into the Army. The Army has a larger variety to choose from. The Marine Corps is...
They told me that was top of the top. People tell me Marine Corps is top of the
well,
top notch.
It is.
Top shelf?
They're elite, the few, the proud. But
yeah, that's saying.
The Army has a larger field that you can go into.
Gotcha.
We can take the Marine Corps, all of the Marines, and put them on 3 Army bases. All of the Marines from all the divisions and put them on 3, maybe 4 Army bases. The Marines are a small branch.
Gotcha.
Okay? The Marines go in and they assault, but they're not a sustainment group. Okay, there's only a certain number of Marines. The Marines will go in and they will do an assault, like in Grenada. They will do an assault there. But if it's going to be a long-standing fight, they will need the Army, which the Army is 3 times as large as the Marine Corps.
There's more of y'all.
There's more of you.
Gotcha.
More equipment, more people, more resources.
So, like, what would that like? I guess, like, if you could describe, like, the Army, joining the Army. When was this? But what year you joined?
Oh, in 1990. 1990. Yeah,
that's a big
That's
gap.
when we was born.
That's a big skip. Hold on.
I know.
So you finished school what 75? I'm just I guess.
It's 1975.
So 15 years later, you went into okay. But for them 15 years, you did like roofing and stuff like that. Okay.
Retail sales management, all types of jobs. And like I said before, I found out that what I wanted to be doing.
33.
I was about 32 years old.
Wow. Okay.
That was right before the first Gulf
War.
We
was born 1990. I just okay.
I think the first Gulf War was 1990 or 91, and I didn't get a chance to go to that because they found out that if you have not completed all of your training, your basic training and your AIT, advanced individual training, they cannot send you to combat. Okay, and they
With
did
the Desert
that.
Storm though.
Well, that's exactly what it was. Desert Storm. Okay, never got a chance to go there. As a matter of fact, the war was over in what? In a couple of months,
Yeah,
couple of weeks, it was over.
because my mama had me during Desert Storm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Your mom was in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I guess during this 15 years, real quick before I get to the Army stuff, 'cause I know once you get there, I ain't coming back. Did you have kids during this time? Like
No.
during? Okay, so you were
No
just
kids.
bachelor, just chilling. You just
That's
doing your
it.
own thing.
That's it. Yes.
Going to the Army.
Yes.
Smart
Let's
man.
make a family. All right. So okay, you joined the Army. What was what's some of the differences from the Army joining in '90 now and joining around here? Because just from my understanding, and this is from listening to Slim podcast, apparently when you join the Army now, they give you a Camaro. That's what I.
Is it a Camaro or a Mustang?
Nah, they be having Chargers and Camaros.
Chargers.
Chargers.
Yes,
Okay.
it's dope.
Chargers
Okay.
and Camaros.
Okay.
It's like here, take this.
Yeah.
You one of us now, and
Yeah.
here's some paperwork because they really don't go nowhere. Not everybody. You
A
know what I'm saying?
$20,000 signing bonus that you ain't getting.
I tell you.
So what was it like back then in the real times?
Well, I tell you, a signing bonus in the Army back then, if you got one, was like $1,500.
If you got one.
If you got one.
Stimulus bonus, pretty much.
Basically, yes. Yeah. And then you take taxes out on it. So
Ew, that's
you got
disgusting.
about a stimulus check. Yeah.
That's a. You
Yeah.
said $1,500. That's a bonus.
$1,500. That was your sign-in bonus. Okay.
Wow.
And it depends on what type of field you go into. If you go into a highly sought-after field, and I know that's how it is now, you could get a $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 sign-in bonus now. If you go into certain fields in the military, and that's just with the Army, that's with any of the branches of service. A field like what do you call it?
Communication.
Linguistics.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Learning foreign languages. Okay, these guys and girls go to school and they're AIT. Okay, they're still trainees, but they go to school for maybe 2 years, learning to speak Arabic, learning to speak Spanish, German. Okay,
Getting paid for it.
they're getting paid for it. Yes, yes, but they pay them $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 as a bonus to learn those languages.
I ain't know
Yeah.
that. That sound pretty good until you got to go over there. I'm pretty sure.
Right. And you're up at the front line
Oh, I'm good.
as an interpreter, trying to interpret what the Army's trying to say,
Yeah.
or trying to convey to the Iraqi army, and you're the go-between.
Oh no, that don't sound like something for me.
But also on the upside of that, when you get out of the military, let's say you want to go back over there as a linguist, as a civilian, these guys and girls make six figures.
Yeah, so it's good to have as some, almost like you're working on a job and they give you a equipment license for free.
Right.
But you need to go somewhere else and work. You have the license with you, you can make more money.
Right.
Gotcha. So it's kind of something like that. It can help you in the long run if you don't plan on being with that particular entity for a long time.
Or if you don't get killed.
Wayman, the way you said that,
I tell you.
I understand it.
You do
Yeah.
everything except get killed. If you get killed, all bets off.
Oh boy. I guess if you don't mind, if you want to, before we get into the Army story, I want to do this podcast because mainly because of your story, but also I wanted to do something for Veterans Day.
Right.
I think one of the most craziest misconceptions is telling somebody who's alive Happy Memorial Day. And mixing the two up, Veterans Day, Memorial Day,
Right.
because they are definitely
They
two
are
different
different.
days,
Yes.
two different meanings.
Absolutely.
So if you, I know you got your stuff. If you want to, can you kind of tell us what that is?
I sure can. Well, a little history on Veterans Day. Veterans Day, which is coming up. I think that's this
Wednesday.
upcoming Wednesday. Okay, Veterans Day was originally called Armistice Day. And it was to honor and thank all those people that are served in the military during war and peace. Okay? And I'd also like to throw this in too. I like to also say thank you and honor those spouses Okay, when the service member is deployed, when the service member is on a CPX or FTX downrange somewhere for a month or 2 months, that spouse has to run the house. Okay, so that spouse has to take care of the kids. They have to pay the bills. They have to do everything that service member was doing. So
Got to fill in the shoes.
That to fill in those shoes. So when we thank the Veterans Day, we also need to thank those spouses because they go like a hand in glove.
Got you.
Memorial Day is to honor those who have served that have been killed or died in action. That's why it's called Memorial Day.
To remember them.
To memorialize why they did what they did and to honor them for the sacrifices they made. And they had a saying, and I know it says, all gave some, but some gave all. Okay? So
Got you.
that especially ties in Memorial Day.
And so, but you being a veteran, how do y'all look at it when people do mix the two up? Because as a person that's not in military,
Right.
I never really thought of it until I got older and got in school. And luckily, it wasn't me. I heard somebody say it one time and heard them going back and forth about it.
Gotcha.
And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know these were different days. Honestly, I just knew that we was out of school.
Gotcha.
Because in New York, and we stopped school in June, so in May we get that day off. I'm like, all right, cool. November we in school, I get the day off. I'm like, even Columbus Day, I didn't care about Christopher Columbus. I didn't know what he did. I knew I had the day off. You know what I'm saying? That's how I always looked at it. But when you in the field and you at the end of service,
Right.
are y'all ready to correct people, or y'all just kind of let it slide? Or
Now me personally, I just let it slide.
got you.
They say it in a positive way, but if they want to get down into the weeds, so to speak, then you can correct them.
Okay.
But yeah, most of the time you just let them slide and say, well, thank you. And
Gotcha.
just keep it rolling.
Keep it rolling.
Keep it rolling.
Keep it rolling. Well, I do want to get into your Army story. So 1990,
Gotcha.
you joined the Army. All right, you oldest guy in the Army, most likely.
Well, actually, there's one guy older than me.
You tell me that every time.
There's
Yeah,
one guy.
there's
Well, he
one
was a
guy.
Vietnam vet, and this guy had to go through. He served in Vietnam. He stayed out for a number of years, and he wanted to go back into the military to finish up his career to make 20 years. And we'd have a thing what we call dress greens day. We used to wear dress green uniforms, and of course our uniforms didn't have anything on them because you hadn't been in. But this guy fell out with his dress greens. He had a combat infantry badge. He had a Purple Heart. He had more than most of the drill sergeants had, and he was a PFC.
But why?
Wow.
Why wasn't he up there with them?
Well, actually, he had to go through basic training again.
Why?
He-
What happened
because
the first time?
he went through basic training the first time and then went to Vietnam. That's how he earned his combat infantry badge and all these medals he had.
Okay.
And they're permanent. They're his.
They didn't compensate him for if he can go in a war.
No.
His training is not basic at that point.
No.
Wow.
That's the rule. If you were out of the military for a certain number of years,
Oh, he went out. Okay,
right,
gotcha,
he got
gotcha,
out. He was
gotcha.
discharged. He got out. He became a hippie. He grew his hair out long, all this type of stuff. And then he decided. He said, "I'm going to go back to the military."
He
And
was a private first class.
he was a private first class.
52
Okay?
years old.
Oh, no, actually, he was 36.
Mm.
He was 36 years old.
Y'all up against people that's 21,
21,
19.
19, 18 years old.
How'd you feel?
I felt out of place. A lot of people look at me and say, "Hey, what do you think we should do?" I said, "What are you asking me for? I'm a Joe just like you. I'm a private just like you."
Right.
But they saw the maturity in me and this other guy, so they automatically kind of gravitated towards us.
Right.
Okay. And then when you see that, the drill instructors see that also, and they will say, "You know what? I want you to be my squad leader. I want you to be my squad leader." So now you're automatically thrust into that leadership position. Okay. So now you are that 18 and 19-year-old squad leader now.
Gotcha,
So you
gotcha.
actually are responsible for them. You make sure they're up in time, they go to bed, they're dressed properly, they have the right equipment. It's your responsibility then.
So describe to me what was the Army life like?
The Army life was good. I enjoyed it. It were good times as well as bad times. The good times when you got to travel, you got to meet all types of people. interesting people. You got to meet people from different religions. You got to meet people from different parts of the country, different parts of the world. And if you just lived in Augusta, Georgia all your life, it's like, wow. It's like Dorothy opened up the door in The Wizard of Oz and everything's in color. It's like that. Even going to different parts of the country, even going out to why I did station out in Washington State, Fort Lewis, okay? And I got off the plane in Tacoma and saw the pine trees. There are pine trees there, but they grow different. They look differently than the Georgia pine trees. And I was standing there looking at them, and they were saying, "What is wrong with that guy?" You
taking it in.
Well, yeah, I'm taking it in. But it gave me an opportunity to go and meet different people, go different places that I could not afford or have a chance to go as a civilian.
Right. When you first started, did you have like from just in the 90s at all? Did you have to go like out the country at all, or any kind of war between in the 90s?
No. Actually,
so your first 10 years was pretty cool.
They were fairly good. Yes, I got to miss Desert Storm, Desert Shield. I got to miss that. But had I come in a little earlier, I would have probably gone to that. But I did get to miss that. The first deployment I went on was right after 9/11.
Stop right there. All right, so you joined the Army. First 10 years, everything is kind of peachy, just regular Army stuff. What did you do? What was your job there like? Because you have a job, right?
Right. My first job was a what they call a 74 Delta. I was a chemical specialist. Okay, pretty nice when it was cool weather. And what it is, it's a chemical specialist. You wear the protective mask. You wear a charcoal suit, lined suit. It's protecting the soldier from a chemical or nuclear biological chemical attack.
What were you mixing with the chemicals? Like,
no, it's not a mixture.
Okay.
It's a posture that you take. All soldiers, when there's a nuclear attack or when there's a biological or chemical attack, all soldiers are told or prepared to defend themselves and protect themselves. So you have a protective hood, a chemical mask that you put on, okay? And it's supposed to protect you from any type of biological element that you breathe into, okay? And then you have a suit that you put on. And back at that time, it was a cotton suit. And it had a charcoal liner in it, a black liner, okay? You had to put that on. And you had these boots to put on. You had gloves, rubber gloves to put on, everything. And that's not bad if you're doing it. Oh, it depended on mission. Not bad if you do it in February, okay?
June is kind of...
June, July, August, and you walk around that stuff for 2 and 3 and 4 hours. Long as the mission lasts, okay?
And where was you stationed at this time?
Matter of fact, I was stationed at Fort Stewart. I was stationed
Savannah.
at Fort Stewart, Savannah,
Okay.
Hinesville.
Okay.
I kind of liked that at first, but then after you stay in a chemical suit for 4, 5, 6 hours, you said, look, show me the door out. I got to get out of this. I cannot do this, okay? And then if you find if you're claustrophobic, a chemical mask fits right up against your face, okay? And you breathe, it's restricted breathing. It's like taking these masks that we're all wearing, just multiply that by 50.
I don't like the one I had to wear.
Okay?
So.
A chemical mask fits all of your face, your eye vision is restricted. You have a canister on the side. And back then, they didn't have that type of mask, what they call an M17 mask. You had to actually take your mask off, hold your breath, take the mask off, and change the filters. Okay?
Oh, nah, that's crazy.
And what they did, they trained you. They trained you with a real chemical agent at one time. Okay? They changed that and start using the tear gas. Okay? So what they do, they would have you put on your mask, clear it and seal it, okay, and walk into a gas chamber, all right? You couldn't smell the gas because if you cleared and sealed your mask properly, the gas didn't affect you. And then the drill instructor or the instructor would say, okay, unmask. And they'd have a mask on inside the chemical chamber. Unmask.
So every day you just getting missions, like... Even though you're on base, it's just a mission today?
Right. It depended on the unit. You were assigned to a unit. So if that unit said, look, we're going to do NBC training Monday and Tuesday.
And this is all just in case?
Right. Right, in case. And they found that out with the Desert Storm, Desert Shield. I think Saddam Hussein said, I'm going to be, what was it called, the mother of all wars? He was going to use, and he actually used chemical warfare on his own people. Okay? So, with that being said, the Americans were prepared for him to use that on us.
On us. Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
So, they took that training seriously.
How serious did you take it?
I took it
At the
pretty
time,
seriously.
okay.
I took it pretty seriously.
Did you before? And I know you ended up having to do some tours, of war and stuff. But during the '90s, and you in there, you like, all right, we good. Like I'm just gonna ride it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my Camaro and go home. No, my Mustang. I'll get my Mustang and go home. Okay.
Brooke, did you ever get a Mustang?
I never got that Mustang. I never got that
You
Mustang.
gotta get one, huh?
I gotta get one.
He got 5 cars. I don't know how many he got, but he got a lot. But Wayman is good. Trust me. He drove the pretty one today, but he got some other ones. So, all right, I can tell you for me, right? It's a certain day. I go to school,
Gotcha.
right? It's in the morning. School's like 8:00 in New York, 8:30. So we in school. Out of nowhere, you can feel a tension in the school. You know, kids are leaving, going to the office. I don't know. I'm not sure why. It's like 5 people in the classroom. They finally call my name and say, okay, cool, I'm going downstairs. But teachers, all their face look very, like everybody's concerned. My mom picked me up.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, what's going on? They ain't saying nothing, da-da-da. She tell me the Twin Towers fell.
Okay.
I said, what?
Gotcha.
Now, a little backstory. Mom worked at the Twin, she worked there.
Okay.
At the World Trade Center, 63rd floor to be exact. Didn't have to work that day.
Oh, thank God.
All right. So yeah, it was like just knowing people that worked there and seeing on the news, it was scary for me. I'm not gonna lie. Beth in New York, I had nightmares for a long time that the Afghans was gonna get me because I know we called them Afghan at the time. I don't know, but I was scared. I know that. My dad called me that day. I was like, yeah, he gonna join the military. He never did though. He's a funny guy. But he said he was. I was like, dang, he gonna die. I already know it, because he not ready for that type of stuff. And he never went, but just the scenery of that time, you know what I'm saying? It was, and in New York, you could smell the smoke for like almost 2 months after it happened. You could still smell it in Brooklyn. All right, but that's kind of when you had to go to the war, right?
Right. We were already prepping in 2000. I think in 2001, right? When the war, the war started, 9/11. So a lot of active duty units started prepping then. So by that time, I had already transitioned out of the chemical corps,
right? And
I got into logistics. Okay, so equipment that you had ordered, let's say a year ago, and what they do, they prioritize units and equipment.
Okay,
if a unit, let's say you're a high priority unit, like the 82nd Airborne or the 2nd Ranger Battalion, these guys are ready. The 82nd Airborne will be within anywhere in the world within 48 to 72 hours. Okay, that's pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
That's real good. Okay, they will be there. Equipment, everything, they will be there. So they're a high priority unit. If they order, let's say, chemical masks or chemical filters, they're what they call a priority 1 or A. They get their equipment right away. Some units are further down the priority list. Okay, so our units started getting equipment in. You see rail cars coming in with M1, A1 tanks and stuff. You say, oh, wait a minute. Now, they're just not giving us because they're not giving us all this equipment because we're good guys. They're giving it to us because we're going to use it.
You're about to go somewhere.
We're about to go somewhere. So all of the uniforms, all of the equipment that you ordered was on back order. All it started coming in. So you knew right then and there that something's about to happen. Okay? So you started prepping then. They started getting all of your paperwork together, all of your will, last will and testament, all of your insurance, your SGLI. They started getting all that stuff prepped and together. Signatures that's needed. Guardians for your children, what they call a family care plan. They get all that in place.
Just in case you don't make it back.
Just in case, or either you don't make it back or you're gone for a year.
Gotcha.
Okay, so you can't have a 7-year-old sitting at the house eating cornflakes for a year. You have to have someone of adult supervision that can be their caretaker.
Right.
So you had to go through the legalities of getting that person put in place to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you saw that happening, all the administrative stuff happening, everything, the equipment coming in, well, you knew what was about to happen. you were getting ready to get deployed.
How'd you feel when you seen that? Because you didn't know at first, but you kind of made
we,
the assumption.
we pretty much knew it.
Okay.
We pretty much knew it. If you're in a division, okay, and the division is huge. You know, you have an armor section, tanks, all that type. You have an aviation section. You have an infantry section. Then you have the combat support sections, the cooks, the mechanics. All those people, it all ties into one piece because all these people have to support the mainline people. You know, if you have a tank rolling down the road, you got to have the fuel. You have to have the mechanics. You have to have the ammunition. You have to have the means to support that. So when the tanks go, you're not far behind. You're going with them.
So at what point did they tell you, hey, you about to go? And where did you go?
We left Fort Stewart. We went to Kuwait. They flew us into Kuwait. And let me tell you, it was a 12, no, it was longer than that. 14, 15-hour flight. It was a long flight. And all the time you were there, you were just antsy. You were just nervous. You didn't know what to expect. And you boarded the plane with your weapon, with your M16 or M4 and your sidearm, your 9mm pistol. So you knew what was about to happen. But when your plane was finally getting there, you'd make a couple of stops and everything to refuel and everything. But when you finally flew into Kuwait City, you could hear the attendant saying, "We're now entering, Kuwaiti airspace." You knew you were getting ready to land. But when they finally landed in the area, let me tell you, they opened the door to the plane. And the air conditioner, the plane is air conditioned, right? So when they open that door, let me tell you, it's like opening your oven.
That's how hot it was out
It's you ever baked a cake and you open the oven, that heat hits you in the face? Yeah, it was like that. And you got all this equipment on, and I thought to myself, I said, man, they're gonna call this war off. It's too hot to fight a war. It's too hot. It can't be real. It can't be real. But
how long did you stay there?
Oh goodness, the first time was a year. The second time was about 12. No, it's about 13 months.
So the first time you went, you in Kuwait.
Right. Well, actually, we landed in Kuwait. Kuwait is where you stage everything.
Okay.
You actually land there. You start getting your missions. You start getting your op orders. Everything there in Kuwait. Then we motorcaded into Iraq. It was an 8-hour ride from Kuwait City into Iraq, southern Iraq.
Now that part, the motorcade,
Oh.
right? Now is that scary as well?
That was
I see a lot of
very
movies
scary.
when they driving and they get bombed while they driving,
Very scary.
or they get bombarded while they driving, like they get set up or something like that. So
Yeah.
what was that like? 8-hour drive, like
Very scary.
nervous.
I think I had the white knuckles on that seat all the way there. Okay, and what I mean, the white knuckles, you're squeezing that area so hard, where your knuckles go, the blood squeezes out of your knuckles. You're so tense. For 8 hours, yeah, we motorcaded from Kuwait City into southern Iraq, Nasiriyah. So all the time you were looking, you were scared, you didn't know what to expect. Okay, so what we did, we went from there, we went to a place called Camp New Jersey. It's out in the middle of the desert. We went there. Okay, and what they did, they went ahead and staged equipment there. We waited until our equipment, because what we had to do, we had to put our equipment on barges, on boats. You can't fly with an M1A1 tank. Okay.
So y'all building stuff.
Well, actually, we stayed out in tents out in the desert.
Okay.
We stayed there until we got all of our equipment. All our equipment came into the port. Now, once your equipment's in the port, now you're ready to move into the area that you're going to be assigned to. Okay. So we had to wait on the armor. We had to wait on the aviation units, the helicopters. All that stuff had to be flown over. Okay. So it was a waiting game there too. And just the sand. You see those things on television about sandstorms and stuff. They're real. They are real. I was walking from a tent, going to the mess tent. It was about maybe a half a mile away. And a sandstorm came up. And I heard a noise behind me. And I looked behind me, there was a Humvee coming up behind me. And had I not looked, I'd have gotten run over by that Humvee. Because the sand was so thick and blowing, they didn't even see me. They didn't even see me.
Wow.
So I think during the first war, It was more chaos because there was no infrastructure in place. Everything we got there into Nasiriyah. We moved from Nasiriyah, and then we went to a place called Taji. It's further up north. It's near Baghdad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that was another 7-8 hour ride. Another nail biter, a knuckle
And
squeezer.
these missions that y'all doing, what are they? What are the purpose of those missions?
Well, it depends on the unit. If you are, let's say, logistics, you support the armor units.
Okay. Making
They
sure
have
inventory is there.
They
right
make
guns.
sure they
Okay.
have all the equipment. They have their food. They have their water. They have their clothing. They have everything they need to complete the mission.
What would you say was the most scariest or worst part of the first war the first time you went?
Convoys. When you had the convoy from, let's say, a distance from Augusta to Waynesboro, that's about 20, 25 miles. It seemed like you were going from here to Atlanta, okay? You were riding down a road, and all of a sudden you hear an explosion further up the road where some vehicle or some other units hit an IED. Okay, so
What's that?
An improvised explosive device.
Okay. Oh, they drove something and blew them up.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Damn.
So when you hear that, and you'd hear it on the radios, okay, that they've had an IED explosion about 2 miles up the road, and now you're saying, "Oh, we're going that way." My goodness. You mean let's turn around? Let's go back? No, you can't do that.
Can't do that.
You have to complete the mission. So you were antsy and nervous about that now.
When that happened, was it people that you knew, like that you interacted with, and now?
Some, yes. Some, yeah. Mhm. Now,
Damn.
fortunately, my unit was never hit with an IED. And that was by the grace of God. You know what we should do? And I tell you this here. Before we went on every mission, we would gather all of our drivers, all of our people, our commanders and everything, and we'd join together and hold hands and pray. Okay? Now, some people may say that's a coincidence. Oh, y'all were just lucky. No, I don't think so. A unit in front of us got hit by an IED. A unit behind us was hit by small arms fire. Okay?
But y'all made it through.
We didn't get hit. So I don't, some people call it, a coincidence, call it lucky. I call it the grace of God. Okay? So that was the most nerve-wracking part. When you got there, you completed your mission, you delivered what you need to deliver, and then on the way back, you said, okay, God, you took care of me going. Do the same going back. Okay? But when we get back into the FOB, into the base camp, and they say, how was your day? I said, I made it back alive. And that's a good day. That was a good day because a lot of people that got up that morning didn't come back. Yeah.
Were you in any contact with your family during this time? Like, how do y'all talk to family?
You had phone calls. They finally got internet set up, and it was slow.
Yeah,
I think I'd been home by the time they got the email.
Dial up.
They say, yeah, I just got your email. I said, look, I'm home. I can tell you in person now. Don't worry about that. Just delete that email. But yeah, we had phone calls. And the thing was, the phone calls had to be secured lines. They had to set up secure lines because and certain things you could not say because the phone calls were monitored.
Right.
Okay, so if you're saying, yeah, man, we're in downtown Fallujah and we got this, we're setting up for this ambush, and you always assume that someone's listening on all of your military calls.
Right.
You always assume that. So you just can't say. And when something did happen, let's say someone was killed on the road, they would cut off all communication. All telephones were cut off. All email was cut off.
So you be on the phone and it cut off.
It just cut off. Or you go to get on the phone that morning and the line's dead.
What do you think? I have to ask. What do you think how do you think your family feel when something like that happened? You're on the phone and cut off because you're thinking the worst. He over there.
Right.
It's all this death happening.
Right. And I mean that's the thing. And that's the thing. I avert back to the spouses. When your service members deployed or when they're downrange doing something, you're on pins and needles. Mm-hmm. You don't know, and you haven't heard from them in a week or 2 weeks.
You don't know what's
going on.
You're
wondering, say, wow, what is wrong? What is wrong? And you can't get to them and tell them, well, they cut off the communications. I can't talk. But when you finally get a chance to talk to them, you tell them, hey, look, in case you don't hear from me or something like that, that may be the reason why.
Okay.
For security reasons.
Just to dive off real quick, because this is a big part I wanted you to talk about. Like, but after you went a few times. So the first one, was like a test kind of thing. Yeah,
right.
Kind of getting the feeling, kind of experience, whatever. But you still experience death, right?
Yeah.
When you come back home, like, how are you with your wife, your kid, your family? Like, you're a different person at this point.
Right.
You've experienced so much.
Right. And the thing is, you have to adjust fire, because there was an instance when I was home. I'd been back here for about maybe a week or 2 weeks, and I was driving 80 miles an hour down the Bobby Jones Expressway. 80 miles an hour. I mean, I had tunnel vision. I couldn't see on the side of me. Only thing I did was look straight ahead of me. And you know who pulled me over? A Georgia State Trooper. He caught me. I didn't even see him. He pulled me over. He said, what's the rush? I said, oh, man, I just got home. And he looked at me, and he said, hey, slow it down. Slow it down. He didn't give me a ticket or anything. But the thing was, when we went on convoys in Iraq, you'd be driving in a 5-ton truck, a Humvee. And the thing was, you're driving like downtown Augusta, right?
Yeah.
The civilian population is still there with cars. So what they do, cars would pull in front of you, and you're going 60 miles an hour on a 5-ton truck or a Humvee, and they pull in front of you. It slows the convoy up. So they told us, don't stop. Stay on their bumper. If you have to hit them. Get them out of the way. Flash your lights or something and make them get out of the way. Because what they would do is have a terrorist use a car to slow the convoy or cut into the convoy to separate the convoy. Okay? If we can separate 2 or 3 of their vehicles, the slower vehicles, we may be able to attack them.
Right.
Okay? So they told us, don't stop. If you have to hit them. Move them out of the way. And most of the civilians found that out. They would get on the side, or they would cut in front of you, and then they'd get off the side real quick. But yeah, very stressful when I got back. I was tense. I was nervous. I couldn't sleep. Of course, it's a different type of 8 or 9 hour time difference.
Right.
So when you're sleeping, you should be up, and vice versa. So I had to adjust, my body. I had to adjust a lot of things. So when I finally got back, I was short-tempered. I was angry.
But you married, with kids. So did that put a strain on your marriage at all? Do you feel like it did, or kind of was?
Well, yes, it did. But they kind of prepared the spouses
For that.
Yeah, they kind of prepared them for it. And what they have, they call family groups that get with military wives and tell them what to expect when your soldier comes back.
Okay.
They may not be themselves. They may not sleep. They may not eat.
Did that scare you at all? Like the fact you come back to somebody you chose to spend the rest of your life with, and now you're different, so it did. It can possibly change the way they view you now.
Yeah.
You're different, but now you're different to her as well.
Right. It did. So it's just a thing you have to adjust. And it takes time doing it. And, even some things that I do even today, even tomorrow, certain things I expect. Certain things I'm conditioned to do. Okay, and when I see other people not doing that, it kind of irritates me. And
I know.
I know you do. And I didn't want to make that gesture to you, but I've been retired since 2017, and I'm still adjusting fire from that. If you say you're going to do this, you need to do that. You do this, you do this. It's a routine, and the military is routine.
Right.
Not saying that we're robots. We controlled, we're told to do everything. You have a mind to think, but you have to be a self-starter.
I definitely need this part in the clip. One of the most interesting things I think you spoke about, and something I never really thought about at all, was I don't know if it was your first one or afterwards. I'm not sure which one this was, but you said that a certain place you was at, they would use women as a decoy for something.
Yeah.
Can you explain? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, even when you're on convoys, and they know the ways of the Westerner, they know them. You know, I met a guy over in Iraq. He was working as a civilian contractor. He was an Iraqi citizen. He had dual citizenship. He was an American citizen and an Iraqi. He knew more about Atlanta than I did. Okay? So they know that we as American males are more likely to help females. So what they do, if your convoy stops, let's say we stopped on the side of the road to fuel up, stop to do something, and we get out on the perimeter, guarding the perimeter, and they have a kid come up, a little girl, and they come up to you and ask for water or ask for food, and they'd be the cutest. They would never get an ugly kid. They'd always get a cute kid.
You gotta chill out. Wayman got to chill.
They'd always get a cute kid to ask for water or something to eat. And they, like I said, they know the ways of the Western civilization. We're going to give them something. We're not going to turn them away.
Right.
But they use them, and while your attention's averted to that cute little girl kid, they'd have someone else come up on the other side of the vehicle and throw something into your vehicle, throw a hand grenade in the side of your vehicle. Okay? So that's what we had to tell the kids, stay back, don't come near, okay? And once you pointed your weapon at them, they knew, okay? They knew you meant business. And most of them did not do that, but you did have instances where kids would come to one side of the vehicle, and everyone's looking on the side of the vehicle, and then someone from the other side would come up and throw something in your vehicle, and you hear something fall, and you say, what? And all of a sudden, everyone's dead or injured. So you had to be cognizant of that. You had to be careful everywhere you went.
Being out there during this time and during all the times you was out there, like, did you ever like think back to like, damn, all I wanted was a Mustang.
I thought about it. I said, look, y'all just let me go home. Doggone the Mustang. I just go home. Just send me home.
Oh boy. And also just, you know, being out there, and when was there a time when you was like, can you refuse to go at all? Like, can you be like, I ain't going?
You can, but let's just say it wouldn't go good on you. It would not go well, because what they do, they say, okay, the first thing they do is remind you of your contract. You know, you signed up for 6 years of this, right? You raise your right hand. I swear to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Okay. If you did not go, well then, let's say if you were receiving money for college, I'm gonna get my college degree in next year or something. They cut the money off. Let's say if you'd apply for a home loan, a VA loan for your house.
You're homeless now.
No, I mean, if you just applied to get the money to buy, I'm going to buy me a house when I get back from Iraq using my VA loan. Ain't going to happen. Okay? Ain't going to happen. And what they do, they go ahead and see if they could get you discharged. And the thing is about the military, and the thing about a veteran, when a veteran says they're a veteran, you have to serve 180 days of continuous military service. Active duty service. Basic training and AIT, you go to your school, does not count towards that. Okay? Once you graduate from AIT, your advanced individual training, let's say you stationed at Fort Gordon. That's when the clock starts ticking towards your 180 consecutive days. Okay?
Got you.
So once you finish that up, and let's say you decide to get out, say, look, I've done my 3 years, I decide to get out. They give you what they call a discharge, a DD-214. Okay, DD-214 has all of your military history on it, the awards you received, the tours you served, and it also gives you a type of discharge that you get. Now, if you the main goal is to get an honorable discharge. Okay. And that honorable discharge opens up the doors for other VA benefits. Once you become a civilian like I am now, the doors open for other opportunities with the VA. Okay? If you get a other than honorable discharge, it starts narrowing your chances now. Let's see if you get a dishonorable discharge.
Then what?
Well, basically, all you did was receive pay stubs from the military.
You're not a veteran at that point.
You're a veteran, but it's not like being a veteran. Okay, it's like if you show
That's what my
someone a
dad got.
DD-214 and they look at the bottom of it and say you had a dishonorable discharge, it's not worth the paper it's written on. Okay,
Do you still get
you
10%?
serve 4 or 5 years or whatever you served in the military for nothing but pay stubs.
Can you
That's
still
all
get
you
a
did.
discount at stores? And stuff?
Absolutely not.
No,
You don't get no
No,
benefits.
you get all benefits taken. All
Jesus
benefits.
Christ.
Yeah, that happened to my dad. He failed 4 drug tests and then got caught with
Yeah.
a weapon on
Yeah.
base.
Yeah. So that's what
Did you
you
know
want.
his dad? No.
I hope he didn't.
But that's what you want to avoid. You want to avoid. So if the person that refuses to go, they can't make you go.
Gotcha.
Okay? But they will discharge you out of the military. This guy was unserviceable. They won't give you a dishonorable.
It's in your best interest to just do what you signed up for.
Do what you need to do. Yes.
Okay.
Do what you need to do and get it over with.
The second time you went, right? How many times did you go?
Twice.
Twice. The second time, what year was this?
Oh, that was in 2007, 2008. A lot better. The infrastructure was in place.
This is like it's about 3-4 years later at that
Yeah,
point. Then.
yeah. We had running water.
All the, not, no, I hate to say it, but all the dummy testing kind of went through, like
Right.
seeing how serious it is over there versus okay, gotcha. So now it's more structured.
I think that the threat level was higher because the terrorists got more advanced. Okay. They knew where to hit the Americans now. The first war, they really didn't.
Gotcha.
But the second time, yeah, we kind of know what they expect from them now.
Okay.
Okay. The second time, you had running water, you had hot showers, you had hot food all the time, you had communications, you had high-speed internet.
Was it less scary?
It was in a way, but then in a way it wasn't, because now they could get to you a lot quicker now. They didn't have to ride outside the gate and throw in bombs and stuff. They could sit 2 or 3 miles out and shoot mortars into the camp now. You never see it coming now.
Gotcha.
Okay. So the second time was easier physically because you had air conditioning you could go into. It was still hot, but you at least had a place where you could go in and cool off.
Right.
Okay. But the threat level was there even higher. Yeah.
So this after your second time, was you like, look, I ain't doing this no more. Now.
I still
Put
didn't
me
get that
somewhere.
Mustang. Still
I know,
didn't get it.
I know. You got a nice little something out there.
Yeah,
you know?
I do.
It's not a
I
Mustang,
do.
but
It's
you know,
not a Mustang.
It looked like one a little bit. I'm pretty sure it drive fast. And you got air conditioner, no sandstorm. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You made it back home.
Absolutely.
You know
And,
what I'm saying?
I thank God for it because, you see a lot of people coming back. They're missing arms. They're missing legs. They're missing other parts of the body. They come back just not even know where they are. They're what the old people call shell shocked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It affects people differently. Some things that I saw would totally disenfranchise another person if they saw the same thing.
Right.
So it affects people differently.
So the second time you came back, how were you with family then? Like, was it the same?
I was better because people knew what to expect.
Did you try to mask it at all? Cause not wanting them to like go through that. Did you try to like?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I think I knew how to handle it a little better now. They had counseling. The first time, they didn't have a lot of stuff in place. They didn't have it.
Because the first time you said family groups, but now it's counseling. That's two different things.
They have counseling. And matter of fact, they have what they call a cool-off period. You are not allowed to go home for maybe a month.
Okay.
So you have a chance to see counselors. You have a time to talk things out with the psychiatrist. You have time to do those things. Now, instead of they saying, well, the war's over, well, see ya.
Go home to your family.
Go home with your family and kill them too.
You're all damaged internally.
Right. So they learned a lesson from the first time they went. They learned a lesson.
Gotcha.
And even afterwards, they start getting better and better and better. But like I said before, the enemy is getting more advanced and deadlier.
Yeah, I definitely understand. And like I said, and talking to you about this, I'm pretty sure even back in the days, it's probably even some interesting stories as well because there's no advancement at all. Somebody that was in Desert Storm, somebody that was in something in the 70s, 80s, 60s, or whatever the case may be, those are probably different stories because it's different times of war.
Right.
But I did feel like, with the ones you was in, opponent also was able to advance as well. Not just America being tougher and stronger.
Right.
Now you're dealing with people who don't care about living.
Right.
So they willing to kill themselves to one up the score. You know what I'm saying? Of whatever of what we going through. I guess being in, cause obviously before you go into military, before you go sign up and stuff, you were a citizen at some point, for a little while.
Right.
What were your thoughts even on that? Like, cause how do y'all think about politics in the sense of when it's so much centered around y'all sometimes when it comes to war? Like, cause they kind of, I keep using the word today a lot, but politicized. Is that the right word, Slim? I think it's politicized. The war.
Right.
I remember being World War III, seeing on TV all the time, not knowing what was going on, just knowing that people was dying every day.
Right.
What were your thoughts on that when you watch the news or something like that, but knowing that it's going to affect you directly at some point going over there?
Right. Well, first of all, I would hope that the leaders will be more cognizant of what's going to take place. Even if that person was a former service member themselves,
Right.
they know what you are going to expect. They know what you're going to be up against. Someone that's never been in the military before or never had any affiliation with people, sons, daughters in the military, they have no clue. They have no clue, okay? So I feel a lot better with this situation that it is now, that this person has had people deployed. So they know we don't want to put these guys and girls in harm's way just because it looks good or just because it sounds good, okay? And I want to revert back to a story when I was a kid. There was a guy that lived right up the street from us, and I remember his first name was Joe, and he was about 6'5", about 95 pounds. He was, if he turned sideways, you miss him. One of the friendliest people you could ever meet. He was older than me and my older brother. He's maybe 2, 3, 4 years older than my older brother. And Joe used to be everyone's friend. And Joe got drafted to go to Vietnam. Okay. And I remember during the summer, it was about 3 or 4 months after Joe had gotten sent to Vietnam. We were out of school. And I remember hearing someone out in the yard down the street just screaming and crying. And of course, we kids, we went to the back to see who's that? And it was Joe's mother. She was just rolling in the dirt, just crying and screaming at the top of her lungs. And my mother and father saw it and heard it as they went out the front door and went down the street. And we were kids, and we stood in the backyard, and they finally came out the house and got up off the ground and stuff. And we finally went out the front door, and there was a military vehicle sitting in front of the house. And that was the chaplain. Right. They would come to tell them that Joe had been killed in action. Okay. So I never will forget that. His mother was always a sweet person. She always used to give us cookies, all kinds of stuff. She was just a sweet person. And after that, she totally changed. She just folded up. Okay? She totally changed her. We didn't ever go to Joe's funeral or anything like that. I think my parents may have gone. But that changed her whole outlook of everything. And I think her mother stayed there also with them. And it totally changed her too.
Was that the only son, only person?
It was the only son.
Damn.
It was the only son. Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Did you, because you got kids, right? Did they ever
No,
want to follow?
no kids.
Okay.
No kids.
I wonder, so did anybody you know at all, ever want to follow your footsteps and go into the military or no? Everybody? Well, your younger brother, what did he end up doing?
Oh, no, actually, my younger brother, no, he didn't want any part of the military. Didn't want any part of it.
How long did he play sports?
He played sports for about maybe 2 or 3 years. About 2 or 3 years he played sports. And unfortunately, I lost him when he was 26 years old.
Damn.
Yeah. So the thing is, when you get up in the morning, sometimes you're grateful for things because you see a lot of things. And the old people just tell me this. They say you're going to go through a whole lot in this life before it's over. And I never could understand that as a kid And now I'm understanding that now. You go through a whole lot. Yeah.
Just I'm thinking numbers. Did his death cause you to go to the army, or was you in the army when you found out that he passed?
I was getting ready to go into the army. He
Okay.
passed away in 1988. He passed away. So I went in the army in 1990.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the thing was, I had no other reason really to stay home anymore. He was gone. I had no other reason to stay. So why not go ahead and live your life? Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
It seemed like you experienced a lot of death as well.
Well, yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
But so, how about your older brother? What was your relationship like? I guess once you went to the army.
Oh, it's good relationship. But at one time we were split apart. We didn't really talk that much for about maybe 10 years. And now it's good.
Okay.
You know, I go down to visit him in Louisiana out every year now. And, you know, we have a good relationship. Good relationship. And we have more in common now. Because when he went off the Marine Corps at 17 years old, he just left.
Gotcha.
And rarely talked to us. He'd call us, say how y'all doing or something, but basically he didn't come home that much.
And I guess I know it's close, but I have to ask you, like, but how did that make you feel, like him being your older brother, but you feeling like did you feel like you had to take on more and he just able to leave?
I did.
Were you like envious or kind of like jealous that he did
well,
that?
I was angry, really. I was angry. I'm not the adult. You're the older person. But, you know, of course, he's doing his career in the Marine Corps, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it seemed like you were stuck with the bag, holding everything.
Yeah, you felt like your life had to stop.
Yeah.
His didn't get a chance to stop.
Yeah.
You had to stop and, be the older brother.
Exactly.
Which you were, I guess, but I get you saying, like, you supposed to do it, not me.
Right.
I'm the middle child. I get the eating.
Exactly. I'm Jan. I'm Jan in the Brady Bunch. I don't need
I
to
got
be
the
doing
afro,
this.
I got the body. You know
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All in all, like, what would you say about, like, how would you define your military career, and just did you like it?
I liked
Did you do it again? Did you do it
I
sooner?
would. I don't think I'd have done it sooner because I don't think I was really mentally prepared to do it at 17 or 18 years old. I'd probably be getting that bad discharge. I'd probably gotten that. Okay. So God prepares you for times when you're supposed to be at that time, okay? And at times when I was doing stuff at 33, 34 years old, I said, why am I going to put my body through all of this? And an 18-year-old's doing this, okay? I should be getting ready to sit up on a rocking chair somewhere, okay? But I was not ready to do it at 18, 19, 20 years. I was not prepared for it then. So if I had to do it all over again, I would do it the same way.
Would you make them give you a Mustang when you sign?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd make them put it in my contract.
Well, nowadays you might, if you well, like the guy when you first started, the guy went back, right? You can go back and if you want.
Oh
might give you
no,
one now.
my boot wearing days are over. They are over. I'm done my time, and matter of fact, I let the younger folks have it now, and that's one thing that urged me to go ahead and retire in 2017. The Army's changed a lot. Okay, they've changed. Cell phones, the internet, social media. Now, I have nothing against that. It's great. It's Marvel inventions, okay? But and it irks me when teaching a class. I used to teach classes in the military, okay? And you got an 18 or 19-year-old constantly taking their phone out during the class. Okay? And you joke with them and say, okay, now, this is class. You can talk to your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, when we break in the next 15 minutes. Okay, Sarge. And they continue to talk on their phone, texting or whatever it is, And that was one of the drawing points for me. You have to go and take a 17 or 18, 19-year-old and take their phone from them. And that's the way a lot, and I can't say all, we have some great young people in the military, but there's some that are social media junkies. They cannot do anything without social media. And I guess I'm old school. I'm not used to that.
When you started in the Army, right? Let's say that y'all had, I don't know, you don't have beepers, I guess, back then. If that, what was the punishment for y'all for not following orders? I see a lot of movies and like they make them do push-ups, make them do
they
this.
Still do it.
So you couldn't just take give me 15 push-ups and you just doing
that's what and that's what they did when I was coming up. And they'd either take you outside and say, well, you know what? That private needs some remedial PT. They take you out behind the barracks and have you do push-ups, sit-ups, dying cockroaches. They have you doing all this type of
what
stuff.
cockroaches?
Dying cockroach.
What is that?
It's laying on your back, raising your legs and arms up.
Oh, nah.
It's almost like crunches.
I'm going to go ahead and put the phone down, Pimpin'.
I tell you. But see, now you can't really do that type of stuff now. The Army is getting, how can you say it?
Like the NBA?
Well, I
Getting
don't,
soft?
yeah.
Getting
Yeah,
soft.
they're getting a softer and gentler Army. And I understand that, yes. But there's certain things that need to be a mainstay. You need to know your job. You need to know how to do your job. You know how to teach you. I used to tell soldiers, I want you to teach you so you can take my job.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you need to do because one day you're going to. Okay? So you try to instill that in a lot of the younger soldiers, but then some just don't. Look, I'm in here just to get my Mustang. I'm in here just to get my college money.
Some of them got the Camaro already and they just chilling.
Or Charger, or whatever it is. But they're not in there to do what they were paid to do, what you
Right.
signed up to do. And that's frustrating to a lot of the older soldiers when you see that. So that kind of prompted me to say, look, you know what?
About that time.
You need to go ahead and take it to the corral. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, it seems like, you had a good career. And just looking at you, one last thing. All right, one last thing. I think you was here last time, Slim, talking about it. It was somebody that was in the military. No, it wasn't you. It wasn't here, Slim. Military people sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get out and they end up being homeless.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about that military lifestyle that some people, after they're done or retire or discharged, whatever, can't keep up with that lifestyle or just can't live a comfortable
Can't
life?
maintain.
Yeah, maintain. 'Cause
Right.
I was talking to one person, they said that it's common in the military when people done
Mm-hmm.
to kind of be homeless at some point.
Okay. Well, I think what it is they have other problems. Some people have mental problems.
Okay.
If you go to a job, you're out of the military and you're supposed to be working on your job at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Well, I never show up. Okay. And they call and say, well, where were you? I just can't deal with it. I just can't deal with it. They have a lot of mental problems, psychological problems. And like I said, a lot of people have that PTSD problem. Things tick them off easily. They get in fights on the job. Well, then a job can't put up with that. You are labeled troublemaker, so hit the bricks. You're fired.
I heard that sometimes when you're in the military, you get approved for a lot of things because you're in the military.
You do.
And once you out, you can't maintain a lot of them things that you were approved for.
Right.
And I when I thought about it, I hate to bring somebody up, but when I thought about it, I thought about you. Because I look at you and you seem comfortable, you seem okay. And at the same place you work at, I'm going to just be honest with you, you got Mr. Bryant, who's totally different from what you are. You know what I'm saying? Both was in the Army. He probably was in less than you, I'm not sure. But his lifestyle is way different from yours. You know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily know his story
Right.
like I know yours. I know it 'cause I managed him too.
Right.
But it's different.
Right.
And he has family that's he's just not here with him.
Okay.
So I always wondered, like, how can, it's like a tale of two, but from the same.
Right. Well, the thing is, you have to, in the military, when you're on active duty, you don't have to think about what you need to wear tomorrow morning.
Got you.
You're wearing a uniform.
Like you said,
Okay.
it's
It's pretty much routine.
Routine, yeah,
Routine.
that's what you said.
You go to the motor pool. If it's Monday morning, it's motor pool stable morning that morning. You don't have to think about it. You put on your uniform, you report, you go to the motor pool and do what you need to do. Okay? It's pretty routine. When you're out of the military, now you are a civilian. And I have some statistics I want to read off to you here.
Oh, please do.
Okay, let me see if I can find it here. Okay, there's about 32 million veterans in the United States right now. Yeah, about 32 million veterans in the United States right now. Okay, that's approximate. About 9 million vets over the age of 65. 9 million over 65. There's about 1.6 million vets that are women. Okay, so the thing is, when you get out of the military, you are on your own.
Gotcha.
If you do not know how to reach out to the resources, the VA, Department of Veterans Affairs, is a great help, but you have to know how to ask. Okay, like a VA loan. If you do not know how to, if you buy, let's say a $300,000 house, a lot of places require maybe 10%, 5% down. 10% of 300,000 was $30,000. 5% is $15,000. If you do not apply for your VA benefits, which is zero down, zero, you pay nothing down on that house. Okay, because it's backed by the VA government. The government's backing your loan. They require nothing down. Okay, but if you don't apply for that, the realtor will sit there and say, okay, well, I need your $30,000. Well, sure, I have it right here in my back pocket. No problem. But if you think is you have to know how to use the resources. If
Right.
you having mental problems, if you're having problems doing certain things, the VA is out there to be a hand and a help. So if you don't apply to them, they're not going to come to you. You
Right,
have to go
right,
to
right.
them.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I would assume too that, like I said, it's an army or military. Sometimes you're gonna get people in and you're gonna change them, but you might get somebody who's ready, kind of like up here, and you just bring them in. But if you got somebody that's kind of like way down here, and you might bring them up a little bit, but you only bring them up so much. They might just not. Some people just don't. Everybody's not the same. Some people just don't have that.
That's it. Then the military is not for everybody.
Right.
It's not. Some people can go into the military and they just look, just discharge me. I am not. It's not cut out for me. Okay. And then some people get in there and they excel. Look,
Right.
I found my niche in life.
Right.
So the thing is, and it's talking to all veterans, all those have been discharged and everything. Know your benefits. Burial places. Some people say, well, I don't have any place to bury this soldier. You've been honorably discharged. You can be buried in any state cemetery. You can be buried in any state cemetery. Even, let's say if you receive the just an honorable discharge. Room available, if they don't change it, you can be buried in Arlington. Up in Washington, D.C., okay? You can be buried in places like that. But then some people, if you don't know about that, well, we don't know where we're going to put them. Guess we're going to cremate them or something.
I don't know what voice you're making right now.
That's it, yeah. So the thing is, if they don't know their benefits, they'll lose them.
Right,
Or they don't
right.
even know they exist. So I encourage all veterans to get with the VA, get online and look at all these benefits.
Right.
Because there's a lot of them out there.
Hey man, I definitely appreciate the time. You got anything else you want to tell? Any notes you want to say? I want you to kind of get it out.
Well, the things about the veteran, and I wrote some of this down here because I think I fall into this category. Just even hiring a veteran. A veteran has a lot of proven experience, a lot of proven knowledge. A lot of young veterans are put into supervisor and leadership roles at age 22, 23 years old. I'm a squad leader. I'm in charge of 5 or 6 soldiers. I make sure they get what they're supposed to have, be where they're supposed to be. I'm a supervisor. That translates to being a supervisor out in the civilian world.
Right.
Okay. Some vets have been, upper management, top management. I was a commander in the military. I commanded, 500 people. Okay. Wow. You commanded 500 people during a combat tour? What type of experience this guy's got? He's got lots, or she's got lots of it.
Right.
So the people out in the civilian world need to take that into consideration when they look at and hire vets, not taking them as a detriment, but as an asset.
Right. One thing I can say, I do like that about the company we work for. They do that. I can tell. We got a lot of people in good positions in military background, so and veteran background too. So.
Right.
I think that's dope. And I wanted to have certain clips to put out, and I think that's something I could put out. I'm definitely gonna put out the Joe story. I think that's amazing for veterans on Instagram. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's this little site we. I don't know. I don't even know.
You're talking foreign language.
Yeah, joking, but it really did.
I know, right? I was just trying to in with a bang. But now this was definitely dope. I knew it would be dope. I think that the time was perfect. If he did it sooner, I don't think it would have been as great. I'm happy, this is the second podcast I did today. So I was unsure, like, am I going to be tired? I'm going to be in a different mode, but it worked out perfect, though. Worked out perfect today. So I definitely appreciate the time coming on time.
Okay.
So, yeah, man, I would say plug your stuff, but you don't have nothing to plug. You don't do social media. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh my
He said he didn't
goodness!
even know what
I
he
know,
was
like-
doing.
I do have a Facebook page.
What? Oh.
What?
Well,
And you know why I have one? Because when I had to contact my soldiers, I would take out my cell phone and call them. They said, "Oh, that's Sarge. Don't answer it." Okay, and I'd go on Facebook and check, and they'd be on Facebook.
Oh, you want to know?
And I'd put the information, you need to be here at 06 tomorrow morning.
they posting a status, and you just like, all right, come tomorrow morning.
And I'd catch them, and then they'd be there. And I say, yeah, I hit you up on Facebook yesterday,
Yeah.
right?
You definitely probably got blocked a few times, didn't you?
I got blocked.
I can't
a
find
lot.
you no more. What's going on?
I got blocked a lot. But then they were friends of another person.
Right.
And I tell them, okay, I've been blocked by John. So would you tell John to be here at 06 tomorrow morning?
He got to go. He got to retire. Come on, Pimpin', let's get up out of here.
Time to get that dishonorable.
I know, right? But definitely thank you for the time. You know what I'm saying? I think it's gonna be an amazing episode, especially people that know you that I sent out to. I think this is some great stories. Yeah, it's definitely dope, man. This is a dope episode for the day too. So I appreciate your time and for you coming through, man.
Well, I certainly thank you for the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I know
I
you probably
really
thought it was never gonna happen, but I'm serious. I got a timing thing with me. I can't do it unless I feel like it's right.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but that's it. You know what I'm saying?
All
Thank you.
right,
You know what I'm saying?
all right.
I'll shake your hand on camera. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my goodness.
And I will see you tomorrow at work.
Okay, all right. No problem.
All right, man. One Masters Podcast. We out.